A black general, his uniform gleaming with hard-earned stars, was cuffed and slammed against a patrol car in a quiet Tennessee town, branded a fraud by cops too blind to see the truth. Until one phone call to the Pentagon turned their world upside down. Lieutenant General Elijah Carter, 48, a titan of the U.S. Army, had only wanted a quick bite in Millfield, a nowhere stop off I-40 before a high-stakes briefing at Fort Campbell. Silver-haired, chest-heavy with medals from wars most only read about, he was a living legend. But that night, in a diner parking lot under flickering lights, two officers saw a black man in uniform and decided he was a lie. Their mistake sparked a firestorm, and the lesson they learned would echo far beyond that dusty town. It started with hunger, not trouble. Elijah pulled his rental sedan into Benny's diner, neon sign buzzing, promising hot food and a moment's peace after 6 hours on the road. He stepped out, dress blues crisp, 3 stars on his shoulders catching the moonlight. Inside, the bell jingled. Truckers glanced up. A family paused mid-bite. A waitress smiled. He slid into a booth, ordered a cheeseburger, and checked his phone. Emails from the Pentagon, a text from his wife, Naomi. Just another night. Or so he thought. Outside, officers Jake Morrow and Brett Slade leaned against their cruiser, cigarettes glowing. Morrow, paunchy and bitter, squinted at Elijah's car. "Fancy ride for this dump," he muttered. Slade, young and cocky, nodded. "Military plates, but that guy looks like he's playing soldier." They didn't check the tags, didn't call it in, just watched, itching for a fight. That's when it began, a spark ready to ignite. Elijah ate slowly, savoring the greasy comfort, oblivious to the storm brewing outside. The diner hummed with low chatter, forks clinking, a jukebox playing some forgotten country tune. Lisa, the waitress, refilled his coffee, her red ponytail bobbing as she chatted about the chilly night. "You stationed nearby?" she asked, curious but kind. "Just passing through," Elijah replied, his smile easy, practiced. "Got a meeting down south." She nodded, liking his quiet confidence, the way he didn't demand attention despite the ribbons on his chest. He left a generous tip, stood, adjusted his tie, and headed for the door, his boots clicking softly on the checkered floor. The night air hit him sharp and cold, his breath a faint cloud under the sodium glow. He reached for his keys, steps measured, mind already on the road ahead. Then a voice sliced through the dark, raw and hostile. "Hey you, freeze!" Elijah stopped, hand pausing mid-motion, instincts kicking in. Not fear, but the hyper-alertness of a man who'd faced ambushes in Fallujah. He turned slowly, meeting the glare of Officer Morrow, whose flashlight beam stabbed at his eyes. "Evening, officers," Elijah said, voice steady, hands visible. Morrow stepped closer, his bulk casting a shadow, the stink of stale cigarettes clinging to him. "That's a hell of a costume," he sneered, the beam lingering on Elijah's stars, his medals, as if they were props from a thrift store. "Mind telling me where you got it?" Elijah's jaw tightened, but his tone stayed even, honed by decades of diffusing egos. "Not a costume. I'm Lieutenant General Elijah Carter, U.S. Army." Slade circled, smirking, his buzz-cut head catching the light. "General, huh? Big shot. Got ID for that fairy tale." Elijah nodded, deliberate, his hand inching toward his pocket. "Left side, my wallet." Morrow's hand twitched toward his holster, eyes narrowing. "Slow, real slow," Elijah complied, pulling the wallet with 2 fingers, holding it out. Slade snatched it, flipped it open, scanned the military ID, name, rank, photo, all legit, but tossed it to Morrow with a shrug. "Could be fake," Morrow said, voice dripping with contempt. "You don't look like any general I know." The words landed like a punch, heavy with meaning. Elijah locked eyes with Morrow, unblinking. "And how many black generals have you met, officer? Or is it just that I don't match the poster in your head?" The air crackled, tense as a drawn bow. A couple lingered near the diner door, phones out, filming. Lisa stepped outside, arms crossed, her face tight with unease. More eyes gathered, gas station workers, late-night stragglers drawn by the rising heat. Morrow's face reddened, not shame, but rage, his ego bruised by the calm defiance. "Don't play smart with me," he growled, stepping so close Elijah could see the sweat beading on his brow. "We're verifying this, and if you're lying, you're done." Elijah didn't flinch. "Call Fort Campbell. Ask for Colonel Rachel Vance. She'll tell you who I am." Slade laughed, sharp and mocking, circling tighter. "Oh, we're not calling your pal for story time. Hands on the car, now." Elijah stood firm, his voice low but unyielding. "I'm not resisting, but I won't comply with unlawful orders. You've got no grounds to detain me." That was the trigger. Morrow lunged, grabbing Elijah's arm, twisting it hard, and slammed him chest first onto the sedan's hood. The metal was cold, biting through his uniform. "You want to play tough?" Morrow hissed, his breath hot against Elijah's ear. Cuffs snapped shut, steel digging into his wrists, pain flaring but not breaking him. "You're under arrest, impersonating an officer, resisting. Bet you didn't see that coming, General." Slade yanked open the cruiser door, grinning like he'd won a prize. Elijah didn't struggle, didn't shout. Years in war zones taught him noise only feeds the chaos. But as Morrow shoved him toward the car, he turned his head, voice cutting through the night. "My phone's in my right pocket. Call the number labeled Pentagon. Do it now or you'll wish you had." Morrow scoffed, pushing harder. "Save your bluff for the judge." The crowd swelled, phones flashing, murmurs growing. Lisa stepped forward, voice shaking but firm. "Jake, stop it! He didn't do anything!" Morrow spun, jabbing a finger. "Back off, Lisa, or you're next." She froze but didn't retreat, her eyes meeting Elijah's, a silent promise she wouldn't let this go. As the cruiser door slammed, caging him in the stale, leather-scented dark, Elijah saw the faces outside, shock, anger, fear, and knew this wasn't just about him anymore. The Millfield police station was a squat, grim box of a building, reeking of bleach and despair. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting sickly shadows. Elijah sat in a holding room, wrists still cuffed, chained to a scarred metal table. His uniform, pristine hours ago, was creased, a smudge of dirt on the sleeve. But his posture screamed authority, back straight, eyes forward, unbowed. Morrow and Slade lounged by the door, sipping burnt coffee, their bravado louder now, feeding off the walls. "Bet this guy's got a record a mile long," Slade said, scrolling a tablet, his grin all teeth. "Nobody pulls off a scam this bold without practice." Morrow chuckled, leaning back, boots scuffing the floor. "Saw a guy once bought a whole colonel's kit online. Thought he'd get free drinks at the VFW. This one's the same, just fancier." Their laughter grated, but Elijah didn't react. His eyes tracked the clock, 11:47 p.m. Each tick was a reminder to stay sharp, stay patient. He'd been here before, not in cuffs, but in moments where he had to prove his worth. At 23, a base guard joked he looked like a recruit playing officer. At 38, a Pentagon staffer double-checked his clearance like he'd snuck in. Each time, he let truth cut deeper than anger. Tonight would be no different. The door creaked open, hinges screaming neglect. Chief Roy Dawson shuffled in, gray mustache drooping, eyes bloodshot from too many late shifts. He held Elijah's wallet, thumbing the ID with a frown. "This says you're a 3-star general," he said, voice gravelly, skeptical. "That true, or are we wasting everybody's time?" Elijah met his gaze, unflinching. Lieutenant General Elijah Carter, Joint Special Operations Command. It's true. And your officers would have known that if they'd done their job instead of playing vigilante. Dawson's brow furrowed. He glanced at Morrow, who shrugged, unfazed. He was mouthy, Chief. Didn't cooperate. Something's off. Nobody drives a rental looking like that. Elijah leaned forward, cuffs clinking, his voice a blade. Not cooperating? I offered my ID, suggested a call to verify, stayed calm while your men insulted me and cuffed me like a thief. The only thing off here is their judgment, and it's costing you more every second you let this drag on. Dawson shifted, uneasy, caught between his men and the weight of Elijah's words. He rubbed his neck, studying the ID again, then sighed. Fine, one call. But if this is a stunt, you're not walking out tonight. He slid a battered desk phone across, its coiled cord a tangled mess. Elijah didn't move yet, his eyes flicking to Morrow, then Slade, their smirks fading under his stare. Put it on speaker, he said, voice cold as iron. You'll all want to hear this. He dialed. Each beep was deliberate, a countdown to reckoning. The line clicked. A crisp voice answered, Office of the Deputy Secretary. Elijah spoke, clear, commanding. This is General Carter. I need Secretary Reynolds, priority 1. A pause, then urgency. Yes, sir. Connecting. Morrow snorted, but it died in his throat as the speaker crackled, and Deputy Secretary Laura Reynolds's voice, sharp, unyielding, pure authority, filled the room like a thunderclap. Elijah, where the hell are you? What's going on? No pleasantries, just steel. Elijah answered, calm but precise. Every word a nail in a coffin. Millfield, Tennessee. Local PD arrested me for impersonation and resisting. Cuffed, detained, no due process. I need this resolved. Now. Silence. Brief but heavy. Then Reynolds unleashed, her voice a controlled explosion. Chief, who am I speaking to? Dawson swallowed hard, sweat glistening. Roy Dawson, ma'am. Reynolds didn't pause. Listen close, Dawson. You've got a decorated general in your custody, a man who's briefed presidents, led missions you'll never read about, saved lives you can't count. You arrested him. Why? Because he's black? Because your officers can't read an ID? Release him this second, or I'm sending MPs from Campbell, and your governor's getting a call by midnight. Am I crystal clear? The room froze. Dawson's mouth opened. No sound. Morrow stared at the floor, coffee cup trembling in his grip. Slade backed against the wall, eyes wide like a kid caught breaking something priceless. Dawson nodded frantic, waving at Slade. Get those cuffs off. Slade fumbled, keys clattering to the floor, cursing as he freed Elijah. The cuffs fell, clanging against the table. Elijah stood, slow, deliberate, rubbing his wrists, his gaze sweeping the room. Morrow, Slade, Dawson, all shrinking under it. Dawson stammered, handing back the wallet. General, we're sorry. This was a mistake, a bad one. Elijah took the wallet, his voice low, lethal. A mistake is forgetting a name. This was a choice. You chose to ignore my ID, my rank, my truth, because I didn't fit your picture of power. That's not a mistake, Chief. That's a failure, and it's on you. Elijah walked out. The station's heavy door thudded shut behind him. The night was still. Stars sharp, but his chest burned, not with rage, but with the weight of repetition. He climbed into his car, the engine's hum a small comfort, and drove south, mind replaying every moment, Morrow's sneer, Slade's laugh, Lisa's courage. His phone buzzed, Naomi, Colonel Vance, old squad mates, but he let it wait. He wasn't ready to talk, not yet. By dawn, Millfield was ablaze. The parking lot clip, Morrow's rough hands, Slade's taunts, Elijah's calm defiance, spread like wildfire across X, TikTok, Instagram. Hashtags their General Carter and Justice for Elijah climbed. Millions of views. Benny's Diner overflowed. Not with diners, but with locals, reporters, strangers drawn to the story. Lisa stood behind the counter, fierce, recounting it to anyone who'd listen. "I told Jake he was wrong," she said, eyes blazing. "That man was a gentleman, a soldier, and they treated him like dirt because of his skin." The story hit CNN by noon, MSNBC by night. Even conservative outlets picked it up, spinning their own angles but unable to bury the core. A black general, a war hero, humiliated for existing. Millfield streets buzzed with tension. Protests outside the station, signs reading, "See us, don't cuff us," countered by a few stubborn locals muttering about law and order. Morrow stayed home, blinds drawn. Slade's old posts surfaced, rants about thugs and entitlement, fueling the outrage. The Pentagon didn't blink. Reynolds called Tennessee's AG, demanding a full audit of Millfield PD. The DOD's Inspector General launched a probe into police encounters with black service members, reports stacking up from bases nationwide. Elijah didn't ask for the spotlight. He never did. But he didn't shy from it either. Sometimes, he'd told a young major once, you don't fight for yourself. You fight for the next one coming up. Morrow and Slade's world crumbled. Suspended within days, their records were dissected. Complaints of profiling, excessive force ignored for years. The body cam leak was the final blow. Morrow's voice venomous, calling Elijah a wannabe in a costume. Slade's laugh, bone-chilling in its glee. Protests grew, spilling into Nashville, D.C., people chanting Elijah's name, holding his photo, dress blues, stern gaze, a symbol bigger than one night. Elijah reached Fort Campbell, greeted by Colonel Vance's fierce hug. "You good, sir?" she asked, searching his face. He nodded, half smiled. "Takes more than a bad cop to break me." The briefing went smoothly. Drone specs, funding battles, but the room felt different. Eyes lingered on him. Respect tinged with awe. Afterward, a young black lieutenant approached, voice low. "How do you keep going, sir, after that?" Elijah paused, seeing himself at that age, raw, determined. "You don't just go on," he said. "You carve your place. Make them see you, not their fears. Every step's a lesson, for you, for them." Millfield couldn't hide. Chief Dawson called a town hall. The high school gym packed, air thick with anger and hope. Lisa live-streamed, her phone steady now, capturing Dawson's faltering voice. "We failed General Carter, failed this town. I'm stepping down. New leadership's coming." Boos mixed with cheers. Questions flew. "What about Morrow? Who pays for this?" A pastor rose, voice steady, cutting through. "This isn't about one man quitting. It's about seeing each other, soldier, neighbor, human. If we don't start now, we never will." Elijah heard about it later from Lisa, who called weeks after, her voice bright with pride. "They're retraining every cop, sir. Morrow's gone. Slade's stuck pushing papers. People here, they're talking. Really talking." Elijah smiled, picturing her at Benny's, still pouring coffee, still fighting. "You did good, Lisa, more than you know." He didn't return to Millfield, didn't need to. The story wasn't his alone anymore. It belonged to every soul who'd been misjudged, dismissed, dehumanized. At Campbell, he mentored a black captain, her eyes fierce but nervous. "They'll test me," she said. Elijah nodded. "Let them. You're not just passing through. You're building the road. Stand tall. They'll learn." Months passed, but Millfield's scars pulsed. Morrow faded into obscurity, shunned even by old buddies. Slade left town, his name poisoned. A new chief, A woman from Atlanta with a no-nonsense rep rewrote the PD's playbook. Bias training, accountability, community boards. Schools taught kids about men like Elijah. Churches held talks on healing. He didn't track every change, but he felt them. Ripples from one night, spreading wide. One evening, Naomi showed him a viral post, him at Benny's smiling, captioned, "Heroes don't bend." He shook his head, but she held his hand tight. "They see you, Elijah. Let them." He thought of his father, a Vietnam vet who'd faced spit and slurs, yet told him, "Hold your fire, son. It burns brighter that way." Elijah always had. The cuffs, the sneers, the cold hood, they lingered. Scars, not wounds. But so did Lisa's voice, Reynolds's fury, Naomi's grip, and a million strangers who saw him, really saw him. Millfield was one battle in a long war, but he'd won it, not with fists, but with truth. So here's the deal. If you've ever been sized up, pushed down, told you don't belong, know this, you do. Walk like the ground's yours. Live like your light's untouchable. If this story hit you hard, made you mad or proud, share it. Comment. Hit subscribe. Let's keep telling truths about the unbreakable, the unseen, the ones who teach the world to open its damn eyes.